Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something called the matrix organization. Now, this is a structure that sounds amazing, right? It promises the best of both worlds, but a lot of the time, it just delivers chaos. It really is a double-edged sword, and today we're going to figure out how to actually wield it without getting hurt.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at why the old way of doing things just isn't cutting it anymore. Then we'll get into what a matrix actually is. After that, we'll look at the good stuff, the upside, and, of course, the not-so-good stuff, the downside. And we'll wrap it all up with a playbook on how to make this thing actually work.
So first things first, to really get why the matrix even came about, we have to take a step back and look at the old school, traditional way of structuring a company, and, more importantly, where it starts to break down in the modern world.
Have you ever felt this? You're on a team and everything just feels siloed. Projects get stuck, you can't get the information you need, and it feels like the other departments might as well be on Mars. Well, a lot of the time, the culprit is the company's structure itself. It's not meant to create problems, but it ends up building these huge walls between teams.
Yeah, this is the one we're all familiar with. It's that classic pyramid shape, a total top-down situation, where everyone has one and only one boss. The path of command is a straight line from the very top all the way down. Super simple, super direct. No confusion about who's in charge. But, and this is a big but, that simplicity has a serious price. It creates what we call silos. Think of marketing, engineering, sales. They're all in their own little towers, and they barely talk to each other. So what happens? The company gets slow. It can't react to changes quickly, and collaboration is almost impossible. Even worse, you end up with people in different departments doing the exact same kind of work, which is just a massive waste of resources. So what's the solution? How do we knock down those walls? Well, this is where the matrix organization comes into play. It was literally designed to fix these exact problems head on. Okay, so what is it? Here's the most important thing you need to know. In a matrix, you report to more than one manager. Yep, you have two bosses. It's a setup that combines that traditional top-down structure with a project-based one that cuts across the company. So you're part of your department, but you're also part of a project team. This whole idea is called dual reporting. So you have what's called a solid line manager. This is your main boss, the head of your department, like the head of engineering. They're in charge of your career, your skills, that kind of long-term stuff. But then you also have a dotted line manager. This is your project lead for a specific task, say for the launch of a new app. They're in charge of what you do day to day on that project. And here's something really important to get. The matrix isn't just one thing. It comes in different flavors. In a weak matrix, your functional or home manager has most of the power. The project manager is more of a coordinator. In a strong matrix, it's the opposite. The project manager has the authority, the budget, the control. And then there's the balanced matrix, right in the middle, where they're supposed to share power equally, which, as you can imagine, means they have to communicate a lot. All right, so we've defined it. Now for the big question. Why on earth would anyone choose this complicated setup? Well, when it works, the benefits are actually pretty awesome. Probably the number one reason is just being smarter with your people. Instead of hiring a new expert for every single project, you can share them across the company. It's way more efficient. Plus, it naturally forces people from different departments to actually talk to each other, which makes the whole company faster and more flexible. And for you as an employee, this can be a game changer. You're not just stuck in your own little world. You get to see how the whole business works. An engineer gets to see what marketing is dealing with. A writer learns a bit about product development. It just gives you this massive opportunity for growth that you wouldn't get otherwise. I love this quote here because it nails it. It is a huge opportunity to learn. You have to be flexible. You have to adapt to different bosses with different styles. It's definitely not easy, but navigating that complexity can make you a way more valuable and well-rounded employee. Okay, but let's be real. It's not a perfect system. Remember that double-edged sword? Well, now we're going to talk about the sharp, dangerous edge. And the biggest problems all come from that one core idea, having two bosses. This is what everyone complains about, right? That feeling of having too many bosses. It can feel like you're constantly being pulled in two or even three different directions. And if it's not managed really, really well, it just leads to total confusion, stress, and eventually burnout for the people who are stuck in the middle. And here's where the conflict really sparks. Your functional manager is all about the long term. They're thinking about your career, your skills, making sure the department runs smoothly. Meanwhile, your project manager has one thing on their mind: get this project done on time and on budget. And those two goals, they don't always line up.
So when those two sets of priorities start to fight, this is what happens. You, the employee, are stuck wondering, who do I listen to? The managers start butting heads over who's really in charge. And ironically, the whole process of making a decision can grind to a halt because now you need two people to sign off on everything. It completely backfires.
So, okay, it's complicated, it's messy. Does that mean we should just give up on it? No way. The question is, how do you win? How do you get all those amazing upsides without falling into these traps? Well, there's a playbook for that, and it's all about leadership.
If you're leading a team in a matrix, you have to be amazing at these 5 things. First, you've got to connect with people on a human level before you start dishing out work. Second, you have to be so clear about what the goals are and who is responsible for what. Third, set up a regular communication routine and stick to it. And finally, you got to be the one who brings the positive energy. You have to create a team that people actually want to be on.
At the end of the day, it really all boils down to communication. That's it. You can't just decide, hey, we're a matrix company now, and expect it to work. It lives or dies based on how well you communicate and how clear the expectations are for absolutely everyone from the very first day.
So where do we land? Is this whole matrix thing just a messy compromise, or is it where the modern workplace is headed? The answer is probably both. It's tough. It's a high-stakes game that takes incredible leadership to pull off. But if you get it right, you unlock amazing collaboration and innovation. If you get it wrong, well, you get total chaos. Thanks for joining us.